Kiran Kaur Bains is the Executive Director of SA2020, a nonprofit that drives progress towards a shared community vision for San Antonio. She's a Senior Atlantic Fellow for Racial Equity with Columbia University and the Nelson Mandela Foundation. A lover of flowers and vintage vases, her favorite blooms to arrange are amaranths. Folks, Kiran Kaur Bains.
When people meet me, they sometimes ask, Kiran, like the Japanese beer? And if I'm in a good mood, I'll say almost. And if I'm in a bad mood, I'll say no, not at all. After 9/11, I got, my phone autocorrects your name to Quran. Does that bother you? No, I replied, it's a beautiful scripture. You're South Asian, but your last name's Bains, an older white woman said to me once. You know what, I said, I bet the British Empire had something to do with that. Are you Irish, I've been asked before? No, but my dad used to tell my sisters and I when we were younger that we were British, not Indian. I think that was the internalized racism talking. It's a strange thing when a lot of people don't understand how to pronounce your name in your hometown. Everyone in my family calls me by my nickname, Kiku, except my dad, who of course pronounces my name perfectly.
Kiran!
For as long as I can remember, I've pronounced my name Kiran. And if I'm honest, the reason for that is simply to increase the odds that white people could repeat it back to me. Admittedly, even when I'm trying, my own pronunciation is a little funny. I was raised with my parents speaking Punjabi and me speaking English. Immigrant children will understand this. I was 2 when my Punjabi Sikh family landed in San Antonio by way of London. This was 16 years before 9/11 led to a wave of hate-based violence against Muslims and Sikhs across the country, including my family. The myth of the American dream is predicated on a quality education. I grew up in the Northside Independent School District off Dezavala and I-10 in a neighborhood called University Oaks. The streets in my neighborhood, Brandeis, Bucknell, Babson, Wesleyan, Clemson, Syracuse, were names after prestigious white universities. I knew nothing of them then, and now they roll off my tongue. San Antonio's public schools helped me get to and through college, but they taught me little about belonging. I was taught how to be a successful model minority, to be excellent, quiet, polite, pleasant, gracious, available, to swallow my pride, twist my name, and aspire to whiteness. Asian Americans as model minorities is a myth perpetuated to serve anti-Black and anti-Indigenous racism. The truth is, long-standing institutional racism has bred inequality, not individual behaviors. When I started to gain a critical consciousness, I was able to internalize a different, more honest story. Then I knew my dad's overtime hours were barely paying rent. Today, I know the cost of housing has long outpaced wages, and the neighborhoods that raised me are home to the highest percentage of people in the city who cannot afford their homes. Then I knew that running gas stations was a stereotype and my family's livelihood, something to be ashamed of. Today, I know stereotypes are not always untrue, but they're always harmfully incomplete. Then I knew my uncle was our family doctor. Today, I know we didn't have health insurance, and Asian Americans aren't naturally inclined to be medical professionals. US immigration policies largely targeted them. My parents came here for a better life, a quality education, fair wages, the right to practice our faith. A better life still is to have freedoms like these in community. My mother will tell you that she believes less in the American dream and more in me. My life has been her very satisfying, nearly 4-decade-long dream. The poet Warsan Shire writes, "Give your daughters difficult names. Give your daughters names that command the full use of tongue. My name makes you want to tell me the truth. My name doesn't allow me to trust anyone that cannot pronounce it right." Sometimes I wonder what this person's life is like. Does she feel like she belongs? Does she feel seen? Does she tirelessly debate the value of just letting things go or standing up for herself? My brain fills in the gaps, sometimes refusing to give her any depth, pain, joy, or even humanity. Such dark thoughts are the opposite of what it means to live up to my name. Kiran means ray of light. Kiku is playful, sweet, and slow. It speaks to the best parts of me. Like anyone, the best parts of me are not all of me. Kiran, despite its meaning, is the heaviest parts of me. I've learned from Indigenous people that the spirit of resistance that lives inside of me, the thing that always seeks accountability and truth, that interrogates how I may be complicit in the systems I seek to change, that gravitates towards movements for liberation, can be understood as ancestral knowledge. My grandparents were born in India under British colonial rule. My parents were born in the aftermath of partition, where Pakistan and ultimately Bangladesh were created following one of the largest and most violent human migrations in history, instigated by the British Empire. I was born in London while the Indian military was attacking Sikhs in our most sacred place, the Golden Temple. We collectively have proven that we're capable of looking back and naming historical injustices. It seems harder to do that in real time, but to escape oppression only to bear witness to it from afar is not freedom. My freedom relies on the freedom of people everywhere. My own immigration story has taught me this, as have Black liberation leaders. For people bearing witness to oppression, it can take courage to name injustice in real time because it means risking our livelihoods, our jobs, our families, our friends. That's by design. Injustice by design relies on silence and complicity. For people experiencing oppression, naming the injustice is a matter of life or death. We were asked to give ourselves a title for tonight's event. I chose visionary, not as a bold claim to being one, more as a public commitment to always be in service to a visionary, liberatory future, inspired not by governments or militaries, but by people who are struggling for freedom. I yearn for more public spaces where we may name the injustice of occupied Palestine together. I yearn for a collective understanding that our government with our dollars is funding this apartheid. And I yearn to create together a future where we are all free. Anthony, I'm going to stay on my step stool here.
Hard.
So
There we go. Grabbing that.
just work around it, okay? This is how tall I am now.
Make it work. Think we make it work. We were all briefed about the Apple box. It was a whole thing. There's a box out here. It's doing wonderful work, everybody. So yeah, you fantastic, outstanding. Yeah. At what point for every person of the global majority here, when did it occur to you? Well, in those first crystallizing moments when respectability politics is like bull.
I think probably I was in that classroom. I just didn't know the words for it.
Exactly.
The picture of the classroom. I think, right,
you learn it more and more over time. Like it's always more crystallizing moments, but it's like in that classroom is like the first like, oh.
Yeah, research shows that kids learn are racialized as early as 2 or 3. And so again, we don't necessarily know the language of what's happening, which is what I learned later.
Oh man. How frequently after telling someone the pronunciation of your name, do they still not get it right? This includes me. I still didn't get it right.
Let's try it. You tell me, how do you pronounce it?
Kiran.
That's beautiful.
After hearing earlier, I'm
gonna be honest, I'm like taken by anyone who does any type of rolling with the R. I'm immediately like, yes to you. So yes, you won.
And last question, what didn't make the cut? I'm loving this laughter now.
The part about like my pronunciation being a little bit funny, I recently, I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pronounce my name correctly. And I recently placed an order for takeout at India Oven and pronounced my name perfectly to the very South Asian Punjabi person taking my order. And he was like, I'm so sorry, can you spell that for me? And then when I spelled it, and he was like, oh. Like it was yeah, that did not make the cut, but look, you got me to tell it anyway.
That was outstanding.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.